As I shared in previous homilies, I have a lens in which I see my Christian faith, that God desires this deep, intimate relationship with me, with you. It's what Christ came to reveal, that God so loved the world that he sent his only Son, not to be judged or condemned, but to have everlasting life for those who believe in him. So Christ came for this intimate relationship with us. It's interesting because we just read the 10 Commandments. Seems kind of like straightforward. I don't know if you've ever broken down the 10 Commandments. The first 3 deal with God. The other 7 are petitions about how we're called to interact with others, with our neighbor. And so you kind of hear that, right? You shall have no other God beside me. You should not use the Lord's name in vain. You should keep the Sabbath day holy. And then, of course, you have the honor your father and mother. You should not steal. You should not murder. You should not commit adultery. Don't ask me to name all 10 in the right order. I already passed all my tests. Don't worry. I'm a priest. Trust me. No, but it has to deal with this like relationships, and it took me a while to understand this. Right? If you actually read the 10 Commandments, the Israelite people had already broken all 10 of them before we got to this point. And God's like, just, okay, I'm going to lay this out. Don't do these things, right? He's like, as kind of like, okay, I'm just going to make sure it's very clear. I don't want you to do these 10 things or to do these 10 things and not fall away from me. But something that came later on in life, especially in the practice of my Christian faith, my Catholic faith, was, I don't know, as Catholics, we have a lot of rules, right? It's Lent. Can't eat meat on Fridays. Why? Why can't I have Chick-fil-A on Friday? I just kind of want it. Okay, I want chicken. Come on. But in all reality, there's other restrictions that the church holds, right? We shouldn't have sex before marriage. The church will say we can't, not allowed to use contraception. We're called to drink responsibly, following the law, and we're not allowed to get drunk. We're not allowed to seek specific drugs that would alter our ability to think and be as the way God created us to be. Seems like the church has a lot of rules. Well, I came across this saying when I joined a program called Focus, and the founder of the organization kind of made this point that just resonated in everything that I did. He said, rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Rules without relationship leads to rebellion. I have to say, in college, my college days, I did want to rebel against the church and what it taught. That's actually the wrestling that I had to do with what the church taught. But then, to be quite honest, my relationship with the church wasn't that great. I had to come to love the church that Christ founded. It was part of my journey of wrestling with the church, wrestling with Christ. And a lot of times I'll encounter that as a priest when I was in the parish. People would be like arguing about what the church teaches, and it's like, okay, what's your relationship with the church? Like, is it just at a distance, or do you see the church as something that Christ had instituted and actually gave his life for? Do you believe that Christ is present in the beautiful gift of the sacraments? Can we enter into that mystery? Because if we have the depth of that relationship, then all of a sudden the rules kind of fall into place. The way I figured it was, again, I always go back to the college girlfriend, Katie, right? When I was dating Katie, there was a lot of rules that went with that relationship. I would call her when I had the free time. I would try to figure out what I would do on the weekends. I wouldn't make plans without considering her being involved in those decisions. Well, then when the relationship started to go in a different direction and the Lord was pulling us apart, guess what I started focusing on? All the rules, which led to wanting to rebel. And so that's the same, I would say, in our spiritual life. If you ever have this sense of rebelling, you're not alone. It's part of the human heart in our brokenness. But then just reemphasize, okay, the Lord is calling me to this intimate relationship. And if I pursue this relationship, nothing else matters. The rules go away because I pursue the relationship that matters. It's interesting, to pursue a relationship sometimes involves a cleaning of house. That's the gospel message today. Jesus goes into the temple and overturns the tables, takes the whip of cords, In John's gospel, it's a little clearer. He's using it on the sheep and oxen and not on the people. But it's a cleaning of house. and to be quite honest, I see it as an important realization of the Lord has to do that in our own hearts. That sometimes the Lord has to clean house in our own hearts because we fill it with other things. And the Lord is saying that, like, this is a house where God is to be worshiped, a temple where God is to reign, and you've made it a temple of money changers and pleasures and joys. So what does Christ have to do in our hearts? You kind of have to give him permission to clean it up. Give him permission to take the whipping cords and just take those things and attachments that might keep us away from God. Isn't that crazy? The Lord wants to do that. It seems kind of vicious. It seems not Christ-like, and yet Christ does it in the temple. And why does he do it? For the sake of his people. For the sake that Christ desires that intimate relationship with you and me. And so I just encourage you, just in that mindset, okay, rules without relationship leads to rebellion. You know, whenever I want to rebel, where's my heart in that relationship with Christ and his church? But then also giving the Lord permission, maybe to clean house. That's the whole point of Lent. Fasting, prayer, almsgiving, making sacrifices, living a life of penance, giving Christ a permission so that we can grow in a deeper, intimate relationship with him. May you give us the grace and strength this day, especially in the Eucharist, which is food for the journey, allowing God to give us his grace to live as we ought, not only seeking his mercy, which he gives us freely, but then to live as we should. Amen? Amen.